Welcome back to the Hothouze podcast. My name's Jim McDermott. I'm joined by my co-host, Niall, and today we're going to be talking about the current state of film in the last couple of years. So Niall, what do you think of the current state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I think it started out well, has taken a massive nosedive compared to the quality it had in like recent years, and I think it's due to the oversaturation of the market, like with new characters where they're not as well known to like the general audience, which is typically your kind of moviegoers. So like your Captain Marvel kind of characters, and I suppose even Iron Man started out as a kind of a relatively unknown, but it's been like a good story with good writing. Like it sort of kickstarted the whole genre. But I think now with like all the TV shows, like sort of She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and Loki and stuff, there's like kind of too much for people to kind of keep up with. And I think with like a comic release, like if it was like a monthly kind of like story, that's good for audiences like who are reading those to go like, oh, I can understand what's happening. I don't have to wait too long. But then I think it translates better to like a kind of illustrated kind of example. Whereas like with movies, there's like usually an hour and a half of like content, or a TV show's like 6 hours, and it's dragging it out to try and like create stuff, which ends up being filler. And then with like the rushed like sort of release schedule, and the CGI takes a hit, the writing takes a hit. And I think that in the early years when they were sort of taking their time, it was maybe every like 2 years or so, the movies were a lot more like thought out, which is like where they have their phases. But now I think that they seem to be going back now to the original model of like sort of like taking a step back and not like releasing too much too quick. And I think with the Disney acquisition too on Marvel with like Fox and the X-Men, and Fantastic Four, like those kind of like really popular characters are really going to help their universe go forward. But yeah, what do you think?
I feel like too, you mentioned Miss Marvel. That's compared to Iron Man. Iron Man was kind of saved by Robert Downey Jr., who was already well known, whereas the person who played Miss Marvel, she's a new actress. No one really knows her as well. And Iron Man was a movie. It was one of the first big superhero movies with good CGI. And then Miss Marvel, it's kind of just the same basic like origin story, same how she got her powers, how all of that there, etc.
Robert Downey Jr. was going through a career like kind of
like a career ending.
So
yeah, he was already big in the media.
Yeah, he was famous before that, but like he like kind of really kickstarted his career again, and like became big.
Yeah, it's like he saved Iron Man.
Yeah.
And Iron Man saved him at the same time.
You can really say that like most of the kind of like MCU characters, like they kind of took a chance on unknowns or like kind of relatively popular, well-known people, but nothing like A-list style. Whereas like now, if you look at the movies, like every A-lister is like they're like trying to get in for the money. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like at the end of Eternals when Harry Styles showed up. And it's like, why is Harry Styles a superhero? He's Thanos' brother for some reason. It's mad like. And then you had The Rock too in DC for Black Adam, and then immediately got scrapped.
The thing with DC too, trying to compete with like the MCU universe, like not going too well for them.
They're just making films for the sake of trying to compete.
Yeah, I think they're like Marvel's going through what DC were doing now. I think they're trying to like compete without like kind of just stepping back and like kind of we're just going to do our own wee thing, not really like they're chasing the money and like those big like kind of sort of box office sort of grossing figures, whereas they need to like just sort of focus on what they have. And like even the Batman or like the rebooted Suicide Squad, like those two movies have been critically and pretty financially successful for them, and like they're like standalone, like not trying to tie into the rest of like the Justice League kind of or the DC sort of universe in that way. And then plus like Batman's like a really good detective movie, even I think as a standalone. You could just watch it and not even be a Batman fan. It's like it's pretty good.
Batman 2, they had Robert Pattinson, which everyone wasn't sure about. So that was another reason why people were going to see it. They were like,
I wasn't sure too. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but I want to give it a chance. And I was like, this is
I thought
the best one since Dark Knight.
I thought it was gonna be a mess. I didn't think it was gonna be good at all because I'd only seen him in Twilight, and that's not good evidence towards him. Like
but like DC like snagging like James Gunn too off like Marvel, like they've kind of got like a person who's already like set in stone, like showed they're successful with like superhero movies and knows what he's doing. So
James Gunn's like one of the people trying to save it, like
Mhm.
save the whole superhero genre in general.
Yeah.
He did Guardians recently, and he's doing like Suicide Squad with DC as
Superman's
well.
going to be interesting, I think. Like this, the Superman Legacy it's coming out. They've announced the cast, but we need to see how it's going to go. This will be a big decider where he's like the Kevin Feige of like DC pretty much. So
Yeah, he's trying to anyway.
Mhm.
Try and bring it back. Right. So, what's your opinion on sequels and franchises?
Good if done well, but if it's like a Toy Story 4 or something like that there, where like the original three were like pretty good, I think, like a solid trilogy, and like wrapped up the entire story, like Andy and all the toys really well, and like showed the progress of like sort of having your kind of child who plays with your toys, like or like fall out of love with them and kind of like grow up and become an adult, and shows the kind of natural stages of sort of people anyway. But then like making the fourth one seemed like a really unnecessary like sort of story, and there's a fifth one announced now, and they're just sort of keep going with it. Like I'll stick with what works. I think even like Bob Iger, like the Disney CEO, even mentioned that too. He was like, we're sticking with sequels and franchises because that's what audiences want. But I think that kind of like way of releasing movies is probably bad too, because they're like, this is pump out as many movies as possible and not really take the time to go, do the audience really want this, or is it just because it did okay because it's a franchise? Like it's like Jurassic World even too, like the last like two ones have been pretty awful.
It's like I'm not against like sequels,
Hmm.
but if it's a clear money grab and like a forced project, like Frozen 2, like
Mhm.
first Frozen, quite good, like, and then second one is like, what's even going on?
Yeah.
Disney did that in the past though, with like Cinderella 2, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a Cinderella 3 as well.
I
There's
think
a
in the early
Bambi 2
2000s.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're not needed, they're clear money
Little
grabs.
Mermaid too. Does that bring you?
Yeah, it's like
Beauty and the Beast, Jungle Book. Like there was like sequels to all those.
I
Those were like straight to DVD releases as well though.
mm,
Like so like back in the day they could kind of pump them out. But now like Disney Plus, like people will watch them. And I think they're looking at the figures and going, "Oh, people really enjoy this." So they're like, "We'll make more of these." But it's not really the case.
Disney Plus is just a big massive money grab though, because each film that does half decent has its own like short spin-off series. Then like Olaf's got one. There's a Cars one. Scrat from Ice Age has one, and it's like, who's watching it? Like,
Hmm.
because you don't even hear them, you just see them and you're recommended and never watch them.
Yeah, you know yourself when you're like flicking through like streaming stuff, you're like, "What am I gonna watch today? What am I gonna watch today? Oh, I'll just put that on. Like that'll do." Like and you watch
Uh,
it and then you're just not narcissistic. So,
Star Wars doing that now as well
hmm.
with they had success with a Mandalorian, and then they just try to redo that like
Yeah.
5 times,
Hmm.
but then they just end up ruining characters because of bad writing. Like they ruined Boba Fett,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't do too well in the Obi-Wan series either. Like it had its moments,
Yeah.
but overall it didn't need to be 6 episodes long, nearly hour episodes long,
Yeah.
where it was mostly filler for
Like,
like 2 or 3 cool moments.
I think they originally like planned to make Obi-Wan like a movie and then they didn't do it, but it would probably have been better. Like tie up whatever kind of story you're trying to do in like an hour and a half rather than 6 hour drawn out
Uh,
episodes and like all like filler and stuff.
it's releasing it weekly too, and
Mm.
across 6 weeks, people obviously if they like keep renewing their subscription, they see what's going on, what's the next episode going to be,
Yeah.
and like that did work with other Disney shows like WandaVision and Falcon the Winter Soldier, but I think the main reason for that their success was because it was going on during lockdown as well,
Yeah.
and during lockdown you had nothing else to do except sit in and watch streaming services like Disney and Netflix, but then now they're trying to do it now, and it's like I don't want to watch an or 6 episode show that was clearly put together quickly
Mm.
and
Have you
with
seen the thing about
little effort.
CGI like too, even like the animators and stuff, like are like under pressure to get like all those shows
Yeah.
like sort of done like really quickly. And, like it's all like being outsourced to like other countries to try and like make up time and like get it all done and finished, but it just ends up coming out really poorly anyway. So you should really take a step back and like take their time on it.
Yeah, I feel like that happened with She-Hulk.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
like She-Hulk CGI was tragic,
Mhm.
and it's because we've seen. I feel like too. It's because we've seen like Marvel produce like top tier CGI. They've advanced CGI in many ways, but then you see them like backtrack to She-Hulk where there's clear flaws that anyone can see. Like it's not like if you're a computer generated artist, like you'd be like, oh, that there, but maybe the lighting's off. It's like anyone can see. It's like awful.
Hmm.
Like, it's very noticeable.
Yeah. Do you ever watch Corridor Crew? You know, like they do like kind of episodes and that, like where they look at like bad and good CGI sometimes, like break it down. There's like CGI from like 20 years ago, maybe sometimes like 20 plus, and like it looks way better than the stuff we have now because it's just not rushed. Like it was, like, even the Lord of the Rings stuff we got there, like the original one's like 23 years old now, and it still looks class.
I think I seen a video about that in Harry Potter.
Hmm.
It was the last one. It was like all the spells and all that there. It's like compared to recent CGI, like I think it was on Miss Marvel, where like Miss Marvel's like just using her phasma stuff, they jump, and it like just looks so obviously like fake. Well, obviously it's gonna look fake, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. The only thing about like sort of Disney owning like Star Wars is like I think that their live action shows, like the CGI is good, but I like the fact that they still use practical effects. So like it feels like whenever you see like a blaster ball or something like hit armor, like it's actually been done in there. Like they have like something set up where a wee spark will like fly off her and things they got there. And I think that with the Mandalorian, because it had the original person who worked in like the Clone Wars like animated show, like it already had a writer who's like established and like been successful. And Jon Favreau even starting off like Iron Man, like being like the director of that and like kickstarting the MCU. Like they had like a good formula going, but then now they've kind of like, oh, let's like bring in like every random side character from every other like kind of part of the Star Wars universe and make a show on them. And then like because it's rushed, they got over like it looks good. Like practically, it looks good over. Like they build all the sets and stuff, spend loads of money, but it's not the CGI or how it looks. It's the writing that lets down those shows. I think in Star Wars, like compared to like Marvel, like anyway.
Because what franchises like Star Wars, it's like people are so like involved. Like the fans are so involved. They've like some people have grew up watching it their whole lives, and then they can tell if it's like clearly done quick or the person who's writing it doesn't know much about it. Yeah. It's like that's why people love the Clone Wars, because the people like Dave Filoni, like they understand everything about Star Wars. They know like the back of their hand. They know how to write the story like properly, and then when it comes to shows like Boba Fett, where it's clearly just a money grab, they bring Boba Fett back in it. It's like, why are you just ruining a character for the sake of ruining a character? Like you brought him back just for the soul, like just because of his name, and that's the only reason. It's like, what's the point?
It's like Marvel changing like superhero suits every like movie to sell toys and stuff. Pretty much that's they're looking at too.
Yeah, it's like they brought back Wolverine, and they changed his suit again, and then they're just pulling like a whole multiverse thing. It's tragic, like.
Yeah.
Do you think physical releases like DVDs will make a comeback like vinyl?
I am a fan of DVDs personally, so I would like to see that like come a thing again. I even see like Disney announced a deal with Sony to like take over their kind of physical releases, so they still seem to have faith over and like stuff like that. So seeing big companies still like do stuff like that seems like they're keeping up with that in a way. But I think with vinyls, I don't know, I think it's just like a nice sort of niche thing where you like have a physical kind of collection of music where you can just sort of go onto your catalog and be like, oh, I want to play this today, I want to play this today. And I know myself by like having like loads of DVDs or even like old games and things too, like where I like just to look at my collection. I think it's nice, but then I also like it because sometimes with streaming you can like pay for like so many subscriptions, and then although you have access to a catalog, what's to stop like the licensing fee like from like Fox or Universal to Netflix just being taken away, and then you lose all those movies that you were paying for. So now you're stuck with like a £15 subscription, and you're like, there's nothing on here I really want. Like where you just buy the disc yourself, you have it, it's there, access it any time. It's special features, like anything you want, and it's just yours forever pretty much. Same with rentals too. Like I don't really.
100%. I think it will be like a niche. I don't think it'll be as big as vinyls, but it definitely will be a niche because like there are Blu-ray specials that have unseen footage of a lot of things. Like if you get like an old Star Wars DVD, for example, you see it before it was digitally re-edited, the Hayden Christensen, you see the original actor, and you see how it was originally, and the lightsaber was a different colour, everything. But I don't think it'll become a massive thing again, because I don't think it'll become a massive thing again because of like plastic and environmental and all that there stuff. But anyways,
Like you were saying with Star Wars too, I have like a DVD myself. It has like the theatrical releases of the original movies, and it's the only like version like left of it because Lucasfilm sold to Disney, so we ended up losing all of those.
yeah, 100%. I've been your host, Jim McDermott. It's been my co-host, Niall Mullen. This is our opinion on the state of film. Thank you for watching.